You know what? I don't see any. How would I got to pull that up, a Facebook Live feed?
No, no, no. You just say good morning to them. Hi, Facebookers. How y'all doing? And
Okay.
just tell them what it is they need for your session. Yeah, we control all of that for you.
Okay. All right. Well, good morning, Facebookers. Good morning, and welcome to today's session. I really appreciate everyone getting up this early to participate and be involved. Thank you very much. And my request is that everyone get whatever you need to be fully present and aware and absorb this presentation. Some water would be perfect, and maybe a pad and pen, something to take notes. And I request that you have an open mind, open heart, and have an inquiry about what I'm going to discuss, and just take a look to see um, how this may be something that you could benefit from, or someone you know may be able to benefit from this information that I'm going to share. And again, thank you for being here.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, I know this is your first time, and we've also have several guests here in our Zoom space too. Um, you know, just embrace them
Okay,
and flow with this.
I will, and I don't see anyone. So how do I need to? What do I need to do? Let me change my view.
I just admitted them, so you will see them coming in, and you'll hear their voices in this space. So as you greet them,
All right,
good. m-
all right, and good morning to those of you who have joined us from Zoom. And if you're just getting here, I have requested that everyone have some beverage, preferably some water to stay hydrated, and a way to take notes and bring an open heart, an open mind, and some curiosity, and learn today. Learn and grow, and let's make some connections. So again, thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate.
Peace and
Especially
blessings.
good morning, peace and blessings. And I really appreciate those of you who aren't morning people, who it might have taken something for you to get up and be fresh and available for this. I want to say thank you.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Mike,
Oh,
unmute yourself.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to Facebook. Good morning to those of you on Zoom. I really appreciate, or we appreciate everyone for being here this beautiful, lovely Tuesday morning. And just to repeat one more time, everyone have an open mind, an open heart, and be curious. have a little inquiry about what I'm about to share and see how it may benefit you or someone you know. And some water would be great, and a way to take some notes. So with that said, we can begin our session. So first, I want to tell you about me, a little bit about me before I begin my talk. So I'm from New Jersey, and I grew up with a mother who had some challenges, some mental challenges, and some substance abuse, and my dad as well. So my childhood was very dysfunctional and traumatic for me. And I became an adult, and because of the way that I was brought up and experiences I had, I kind of really leaned heavy into my relationships with women, and was very hypersexual. I was very much into pursuing women for the physicality. That was what I was into. It was a way of proving my manhood, you know, how many women I could get and all that. And so I pretty much lived that way, going from, you know, relationship to relationship, a lot of times having overlapping relationships. And I didn't start taking a look at how I was being in relationships until one day my wife told me she wanted a divorce. And felt this chemical release in my brain, and felt like that was the first time I ever felt like I was going to faint. And because I didn't know that she was that unhappy. So anyway, from that moment, from when I realized that I had, you know, failed my marriage, I started to take a look at myself to say, hey, what happened? How did I get here? And so I started getting involved in personal development. And one of the first coaches that I had said to me, after we had been working together for a couple of months, she said, hey, Mike, you have issues with your mom. And I said, no, I don't. I'm good. My mother had been deceased at this point for about maybe 12 years. She had passed away from a car accident. And I said, I don't have any issues with my mom. I'm good. And she says, yeah, you do. I can hear it in your speaking. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so she said, I want you to write a letter to your mother. So I wrote a letter to my mom. It was 1 page. And then when I met her, I met my coach every week. I read the letter, and she said, and my coach at this time was a Chinese woman. So I used to call her the dragon lady. She was kind of hard and direct and straight to the point. So I read the letter to her, and she said, you didn't get it out. Go write the letter again. I'm like, I was like, wow, okay. So I went that week and I wrote the letter a second time to my mother. This time I wrote 3 pages. So we met, I read the letter to her this time. And she said, you didn't get it out. She said, here's what I want you to do, Mike. Go home, and I want you to relax and do whatever you need to do to make yourself very relaxed and open. Have a drink, whatever you need to do. She said, and then write the letter. And this time say everything you've always wanted to say to your mother, but have been afraid to say to her, everything. So I said, okay. So this time I went home, relaxed. Actually had me a couple shots of Hennessy, to be straight with you. Got real relaxed, sat there, got comfortable. And I just started writing this letter, saying all the things, I took her coaching. And something came over me. I started crying, and I wrote 13 pages, and I was crying the whole time. I was just really emotional. And it was a release. It felt great. So when I met my coach that week, and I hand wrote this. So I showed up with 13 pages, and it was all smeared from the tears, and I could barely read it. So I said to her, I can barely read it because I was crying and it's smeared. And she said, you don't need to read it. You got it out. So this was the first time that I was even present to that I had some abandonment issues. And then, as fate would have it, about a year later, my next girlfriend was a therapist. And she said it to me right away. She said, hey, you got abandonment issues, right? And I was like, okay, I heard that before, but I didn't take any action around it. I just kind of took a mental note. And then a couple years later, I had another coach This was probably about 2 years ago. And she said the same thing. She said, Mike, you have abandonment issues and you should really take a look at that and do something about that. And I was like, wow, I keep hearing this. So I have a rule that if 3 people tell me something, then I take a look at it. It must be true. And so from then, this coach of mine suggested that I do something about it. And here's the book that she suggested that I get. This is where it started, the Abandonment Recovery Workbook. So most of what I'm presenting today is from what I learned from doing this workbook. And I want to make this clear, I'm not a therapist, I'm a life coach. So this is not something that I do as a profession, and I'm not clinically trained. I'm just a very inquisitive, curious, always learning, exploring, trying to better myself type person. So I took the coaching, because I'm a coach, I took the coaching. So I got this workbook and I started to do it. And at that time I was in a relationship and I enrolled my girlfriend to do this with me. So that's my story to explain to you how I got there. And one other thing I want to point out is throughout all my relationships, I was, as I said, I was more leaning to the physical side. So I had no problem with being physically naked with a woman, but I was never emotionally naked or spiritually naked, which was, what I now realize was part of my abandonment. I didn't get close to a woman emotionally or spiritually. I had a wall up, and or as I say, I had an emotional governor. I wouldn't allow myself to feel any emotional connection past a certain point. And whenever I felt it coming on, it was like my system was shut down. Now, I knew this about myself, but I didn't know that that was abandonment. I just knew I can't deal with all this emotional stuff. You're too emotional for me. That's what I would say. And I would just pull away. So that's a little background of who I was and how I got to start to have an inquiry about, my abandonment issues. So now I want to share just a little bit about what abandonment is. And if you want, John, you can pull the slides up, sir, please. Yeah, so the title is, Are You an Abandoholic? Because I was an abandoholic. And so I'm going to give you an opportunity to see what that is and to determine if you possibly might be an abandoholic. Next slide, please. So what is abandonment? So abandonment is a loss of love. It's a feeling of being disconnected or like left behind. It's a form of anxiety, and often abandonment is developed in early childhood from abuse or neglect or possibly a loss of a loved one or a parent or a caregiver. And when parents or the caregiver respond to the child in like warm, loving, consistent ways to the feelings and needs of the child, the child would develop secure attachments and they're able to develop normally. So a secure attachment style would be someone who has trust for other people, they're open to others, responsive and warm, and they know how to form and maintain healthy, close relationships. But when this doesn't happen, when the parent or caregiver doesn't respond to warm, loving, consistent ways, then the child remains in like a chronic state of stress and fear. And this is what leads to the development of an insecure attachment style. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about attachment styles because I also figured out what mine is. So like emotional abandonment would be, let's say if you have a parent that is present and always there, but they're not emotionally available for you, you can still end up having, it doesn't have to be a loss. You can still have abandonment issues, and they will show up later in your adult life relationships. So these adverse childhood experiences lead to the development of negative beliefs of oneself. Beliefs like I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, again, inability to trust other people, believing that people will always end up leaving. And again, this leads to, insecure attachment styles and abandonment fears. I definitely had that. I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't have major trust issues, but I definitely believed that all women would leave me because with the struggles and everything that my mom went through, it was often she would leave me and my brother and sister with a relative or our grandparents or someone because she had to, you know, go take care of things or handle herself or whatever it was. So we were often, when I was a child, we were often being left. And the first experience of which my mother left me, I remember as a matter of fact, my oldest memory ever is I was 4 years old and my stepfather at that time was abused my mom and beat her up. And I remember like 8 police cars being out there, and she was taken away into the ambulance, and him being cuffed into the, you know, taken to the police. And one of my aunts came to take us. That's my oldest memory. You know, it's sad to say that, but that's where it started. Like I can clearly remember that to this day. So signs of what abandonment might look like in a kid. Oh, you can go to the next slide. I'm sorry. I'm just talking. All right, we can do it. There you go. Okay, so real quick, I want to tell you about in children what it might look like, because this is what I was suffering from. Anxiety. I had anxiety very much as a kid. I was always afraid of looking for the shoe to drop. Or when was the bad thing that was going to happen? When was my mom going to leave me again? And sometimes kids have a difficult time managing their emotions, and they get upset real easy, and they exhibit, you know, negative attention-seeking behavior. My brother had that. He was a hellion. He was always doing something bad. Or sometimes you might avoid people, would be antisocial or bullying. So as an adult, a few questions I want you now to explain about as an adult, and a few questions you, the audience, could ask yourself to start to take a look to see if you have abandonment issues. Do you have any specific defense mechanisms that make it difficult for you to have close and healthy relationships? You know, do you have an inability to trust others? Do you feel insecure in romantic relationships? Are you codependent? Do you give too much in relationships? Are you like a people pleaser? You know, so any of these things, if these sound familiar to you, or maybe someone you're dating or involved with, then this is abandonment. Next slide, please. Yeah, if you feel the need for continual reassurance, I dated a woman who told me that she needed me to tell her that she was pretty 5 times a day. She literally said that. And I was like, wow, you know, and this was the one I said, you need to read this book with me, you know? So if you need constant reassurance that other people love you, that they will stay, you know, this is also a sign. If you're very controlling of others, and if you maintain unhealthy relationships, I have a thing that I say, healthy people don't dance with unhealthy people too long. So if you're unhealthy and you're in a relationship and it lasts for a long period of time, chances are the individual you're with is equally as unhealthy as you are. They may not know it, may not be, or vice versa. If you're dating someone and you think they have abandonment issues or they're emotionally unhealthy, if you stay, there's a chance that you're as equally, you know, unhealthy as they are, because water rises to its level. So yeah, you have an inability to maintain relationships, sabotaging relationships. I've done that quite a bit, and I've definitely had the lack of emotional intimacy. Next slide, please. Oh, I want to mention this too. So, another thing that's directly linked to abandonment that is a pretty new conversation that I've recently discovered is attachment styles, and it's attachment styles are closely linked or a result of abandonment. So definitely, if you have not heard of attachment styles, I recommend you look into that and read up on it. So there's like secure attachment, which is the healthy individual who developed properly. There's anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and then the fearful attachment is a combination of anxious and avoidant. So I was that guy. I was anxious. I would meet a woman and I would be all in. Oh, I want to be with you. I got to get with you, and pull them all in. And then once it got to a certain point, then I became, my avoidance would kick in. I'd be, hey, this is too much. You need to back off. So it was like for dating me was like a constant back and forth. I'd pull you in, push you away, and I didn't even really realize that I was doing that. And just another quick note about the anxious and avoidance. So anxious attachment is when you have a negative view of like yourself, but like a positive view of other people. Just for example, and I kind of had that. I thought like, I'm not good enough, and the woman is good sometimes. But then avoidance attachment is the opposite, where you have a positive view of yourself and a negative view of them. So I would flip back and forth between them two. Next slide, please. All right, so I want to talk about when me and my girlfriend was reading this book and we got to this part. It was like a huge light bulb went off for both of us. And it, like, in the moment that I discovered the 5 stages of abandonment, I immediately saw at that moment so many examples of me doing this. And so right after this, I'm going to ask a question. I want you all to look to see how this 5 stages shows up for you. So the swirl is the acronym to describe the 5 stages of abandonment. So the first one is shattered or shattering. And basically what that means is your expectations aren't met. It can be any form of fashion. You have an expectation, and once it's not met, the process begins. Okay. And then the next stage, the W, is for withdrawal. And withdrawal is, it could be the emotional experience you're having, just like the withdrawal from, some of you know what it's like not to have coffee for a couple days, or if you've had any type of substance abuse, you know what it's like to have that withdrawal, like in the, the chemicals that you get from the stimulant or that abuse, you don't have them released, and your body's actually missing it. And withdrawal could also mean, this is me, I would withdraw. So when my expectations weren't met, I would withdraw. I would go into my man cave, in my shell, and like, I'm not going to communicate. I'm not going to talk to you. And when, just so you know, when this process begins, the swirl process, most people spend the majority of their time in one of these phases: withdraw, internalize, or rage. I was a withdrawal. I spent most of my time withdrawn. Okay. And then internalizing, which is with the I, it's when you idolize the love that you lost, and you like, this person leaves you, and then all of a sudden they become the awesome one. You're like, oh, I'm so messed up. You start blaming yourself, doubting yourself, saying, this person left me, I must be messed up. They're the healthy, good one, and I'm the one that's messed up. And then all your old insecurities come up. And I would definitely do that. And then rage is when you attempt to reverse this rejection. And then you get upset, you get angry. So in the relationship where I read this book, I was a withdrawer and she was a rager. So what would happen whenever we got shattered and we begin this swirl process, she would start raging, being very angry. She would immediately go to rage, and that would only make me withdraw. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it, And so we were like constantly going through this cycle. And then the L is for lift, which means whatever method, tool you use to distract yourself from the pain. So lift is when you're in the shadow, how do you get yourself out of it? What do you do? And there's a lot of things that people do to get themselves out of the lift. So next slide, please.
Michael, I have a question. I have a couple questions because I clearly relate to everything you're sharing here. I discovered for myself recently that I may have issues with abandonment, dealing with my trauma response to some of the things I dealt with. And you mentioned it, being something that come in when you're a child, that's when it starts. And, you go back to that period, and I clearly relate. I would love to hear from some of our community, see how they're relating to this so far.
Okay.
We love to volley a little bit and hear how our community resonate with this
All
message.
right, awesome. Well, I'll pose this question then for the community. So looking at this swirl, shadow withdrawal, internalized rage and lifting, I'm gonna give you an example of I want to say this. It doesn't necessarily always have to show up in relationships. You could get triggered once that model, that neural pathway is set. You can get triggered by anything. I went into a swirl because I got bad service from the cell phone company. My expectation wasn't met of how the service should be, and then this process started. So my question is, who can give an examples of how they see that they have been swirling over, whether it was in a relationship or just any situation where an expectation wasn't met? Who wants to share a recent example of where they can see that?
We have a hand raised from Wendy. Wendy, could you come off mute and share, please?
Hello,
Hi.
Wendy. How are you?
Great. So I have been busy taking notes because this is just so me. And apart from relationship, like a marriage I just walked out of, I have this habit of abandoning relationships, abandoning projects, abandoning business ideas, as long as it's not working for me, or working the way I feel it should work, or I get a disappointment or a seeming rejection, right? I take off. Wow. So this is me for as long as I can remember, right? You feel that the unworthiness, or
Yes.
maybe something is wrong with me. This is why it's not working. So maybe I don't know enough. I probably need to go back to school, take another course. It's always an excuse to run.
Yes.
So I'm complete.
I get it. Thank you for that share. And again, I can relate because I do all of this. I do all of this. So thank you. And it's awesome now that you see it, you can take actions to you now you'll recognize when you're in a swirl and you go, I'm swirling. And then later on, I'll show you a few ways to get out of it, healthy ways to get out of it, and that you can stop the process or at least be aware of that this experience that you're having isn't necessarily real in the moment, like you're triggered from the past. So that's awesome, Wendy. Thank you. Any other questions? John, anyone else want to share?
Yes, I would like to call on Laura Clark if she's interested, if she's open to coming and sharing. When she saw swirl, she said, "Swirl, hello me." I'd like to know, how did she see herself in the swirl? Laura, you there? Okay.
Jacqueline also said, I've done it all. I don't know if Jacqueline would like to share her experience.
Yes, absolutely. So, Jacqueline.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jacqueline.
Good morning. I was listening, and I was looking at every stage, and I was glad that you said that, we go through a lot of these stages. I do all of them. I do absolutely all of them. And I'm one of those people who I hate to quit. I feel like it's quitting if you give up on something, and I hate to walk away. And I have to learn how to do that to protect myself. But a lot of times my expectations are not met. And then what I'm doing is I'm trying to examine those expectations. But I do remember feeling that very strong sense of anxiousness when my mother would leave to go to work when I was younger.
Mhm.
And I had this thing that I thought that she would not come back, that she would, not that she would abandon, I guess it is abandonment, but I felt like something might happen to her. And so I was always anxious as a child when she went to work. Like I couldn't sleep until she got back in the house. And if she went out, then I really thought something was going on. And I found out later on that it really is a generational thing in my family, because my mom was sent to the West Indies to be raised by her grandmother, and her mother never came back. She sent packages, but she never came back. So for 16 years, I felt abandoned. And I think that my mother, I don't know how that came to me, because she never left us. So, I mean, she did send my oldest brother away. I think after that, she allowed grandma to raise him. I think after that, she decided to stay with her own kids and raise her own kids. Okay, sorry. And I think that I saw that somehow that trickled down to me. And I've done the same thing, like even with my children and my relationship, there are times when I felt like it was too much for me, and I would just get up and run. I would call my friend and say, I got to get out of here. And I would leave with maybe 2 or 3 days closed, but then I would have my money, credit card or something with me, and I would stay for a week or two. And so most of the time I would take my children with me because I was afraid of leaving them. I didn't want them to feel like I felt. But there were times as they got a little bit older that I felt comfortable enough leaving them, and I would leave. I just recently stopped doing that, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. But I've been doing that throughout my whole relationship. And
wow. I get it. And abandonment can be caused genetically as well. One of the causes, it can be, I recently read that you can be genetically influenced from 4 generations back. It can be, so your mother could have passed it down to you that way, possible.
Yeah, I think so, because when we go back in the family tree, I see that her grandmother came from Scotland, and there seems to be no record of who her mother was. So we're at a loss at who is her mother. We knew that she married this man, and we knew his background, but we didn't know who her mother was, because her mother was probably white and had this child with a man from the islands. And so she dipped. That's the best I can think of. We're still researching. We still don't know.
Okay. Well, now you have some tools, or you will, so you could take a deeper look at this and break the cycle.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'm doing that, because I talk to my kids, and they're grown, they're adults. But I noticed that my daughter is also doing the same thing. She has these unrealistic expectations of people. And she's one of those people that she's like, she told this guy, you have to call me every single day or send me a text every single day. And I was like, that's not healthy. Yeah. You're not married. You're just friends. You're not even in a relationship. She was like, yeah, well, that's my requirement. I'm like, whoa. Whoa.
Well, you can share what you learn with her. And I highly recommend that this book, or any book, just, the reason why I recommend this book in particular is because it's a workbook. So after every chapter, it has a lot of questions and exercises. So it causes you to do the work. You're not just reading it, you have to do the work. So if you grab it or get some version of it, some workbook, and it took me maybe 3 months to complete it. And half the time I was crying, because I really saw myself and all my stuff was coming up. And I was like, man, and it really got me present to how I had been treating women in relationships. And I was blaming all the women for all these issues. I didn't know it was me in my relationship with my mom and my parents. And I kept saying, it's these crazy women, they got issues. I took no responsibility that it was me, and I didn't even take responsibility that I kept picking these women who were emotionally available. Like it was almost by design, but it was hidden from my view, like in my blind spot.
Right.
I did it over and over and over again. So now that I'm aware of it, I didn't tell you guys this. I'm taking off this entire year of because I'm a serial relationship guy. I go, back to back. They overlap. So I'm 50 years old now, and I made a commitment to myself that for the entire year of 2021, I'm not going to be in a relationship. And this would be the first time I've ever went this long without a relationship since my first girlfriend at 17. So I'm healing. I'm doing some healing because I don't want my wounds to win. That's what I say. My wounds had been winning and driving my relationships up till now. So I'm letting that go. So thank you for your share. And yeah, I totally get it. Was there anyone else, John, or should I keep moving on
Yes,
here?
Mike. I had called on Laura earlier, and
Okay.
I'm back.
Right.
I'm back. I'm back.
Hello, Laura. Morning.
Yes. Morning. Morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for this needed conversation.
You're welcome.
So I identify with everything you've said so far. I was abandoned from I was 3 years old.
Sorry to hear.
Yes. I lived with caretakers. Then my father passed at 6 years old. Then my life changed. I, of course, used to see my mom, but there was no connection. But in my heart, I loved her so much. But the emotional, there was nothing, nothing. So I've gone through everything you've spoken about. The rage I've experienced was like, I got into a fight with a man in a business I was running. And that scared the hell out of me because I realized that I could have taken this man's life because of that rage that was so built up and pent up for so many years. And of course, the shattering, the withdrawal, I'm still withdrawing from situation, projects, people, when my expectations are not met. And I know it all has to do with the abandonment issue. And I'm working on it. I'm going through all these stages. I co-created them. I have to let them go. And I'm just like so confused at times. I really want to release the patterns because I know they're holding me prisoner. I mean, I'm holding myself prisoner, but
Yes.
it's like I want to break through this glass ceiling because I know, something is there and it's painful. It's really, really painful, and I'm feeling them in my hands. I have so much pain in my hands, and I know it's as a result of all that pattern of trauma and pain. With that, I'm complete. Thanks.
Wow. Thank you. That was emotional. I literally felt that. I felt what you were experiencing, and I understand, like, you being left at 3 because it was 4 when it happened to me, and it did traumatize me. So hopefully, as I get to some of the things that you can do, hopefully you take it on and you are able to let it go and transform this conversation for you. So thank you for that share.
Ashay, thanks.
Thank all of you. Should I keep
Thank
moving,
you.
John, or you want to any more shares?
Mike, before we move on, I'd like to invite Daniel Soto to join the conversation. He dropped a saying in the chat, I believe as Jacqueline was speaking. And I'd like, if he's willing,
Oh, okay.
I'd like for him to join the conversation and let us know, Daniel, what you said same to and how this conversation is resonating for you.
Okay. Yeah, that took a moment, but you like catch me right on it because it was extremely emotional. It is everything balled up in one, and it's like the battle of society's super ego that we also end up taking on into the idea of abandonment. I lost my mother at 11, and just like the recent elder that I just went through, I also had a relationship with my father where he was there, but not there. And then you fall into this idea of being held by the community, but the community already has its own super ego that I think, to be honest, I don't, this is coming out of the tongue in the most recent moment now as I'm realizing, and it's hard to pull in the words because it's it's haunting, you know. You know, you go to, and sorry if I'm jumping around, but the feeling is walking into a haunted house, and the haunted house is the community. You don't know what to trust, you know, and the feeling of trust, the feeling of acceptance, and bringing in new energy is difficult. And you end up making up your stories, you know, you end up making up your stories, making up your own world, where then you fall back to society's ego, notice that nothing is really in sync with you. So, and I feel like I'm just jumping around a lot because it is an extremely emotional thing for me to just process. But it is the battle of who I am and how I'm accepted, and noticing that acceptance is not valid to anyone but myself. And it's okay to just be wrong, and it's okay to just accept lost, you know? Yeah, I mean, that's as much as I can pull it up together, because Sonny, you caught me right on it, and I was just processing it. I was processing the energy, and just even speaking to spirits as well is also another thing that just, you know, it's a lot to listen to. There's a lot to listen to. There's a lot.
Hey, thank you, brother. I get it, and I want to acknowledge you. I feel, and I could be making this up, I feel like it's even more difficult for men to be vulnerable and express their feelings. You know, we as men, we are expected to be strong and you know, not cry and not hurt. And so that was probably part of the reason why I didn't even address and start to look at these things, because I felt like it would make me less manly, you know. So I want to acknowledge you for even taking a look and going there. And what I've also learned is that your relationship with your mom, your mother and your father are your primary model for relationships. And as a child, you take this model, you create a blueprint of how relationships should be. So as in my case, since I developed a fear of abandonment and distrust with my mom, that was my blueprint. That was the model. And I took, and like I said, I'm 50 and I've been operating from this model for this long time. And I thought my map was accurate, as I like to say, the map that I had of life, my blueprint, but it wasn't accurate. But it was the only one that I had. So I get it, brother. Totally get it. Thank you. Thank you for that share.
Okay, Michael, you can continue to move on. Would you like to, well, how would you like to move from here?
Yeah, just bring the slides back up. I want to see where I was at. And I know where I left off here on my notes here. What I want to also share with you is that I explained the swirl and the 5 stages, but there's a mini swirl. And so what mini swirl is sometimes when you haven't, always starts with an expectation not being met. And you don't always go through the whole 5 stages. So for example, as I explained to my last girlfriend, a mini swirl is when you either skip stages or you go. So she would primarily go from shattered to rage to lift. She would skip the withdrawal, and I generally would go from shattered, withdrawal to lift. So sometimes you can have a swirl, but you don't go through the whole process. It'll be like, that's what they call a mini swirl. So yeah, okay. And let's see the next slide. Okay, well, you know what? You can go back then, because I got one more thing I want to share about how the swirl, and I didn't make a slide for this, but I'm gonna share it. So what I also got very clear is, so the reason why we feel this way, and to get to a more physiological understanding of how this happens. So you have the amygdala, and the amygdala is the seat of emotional memory. And it's a little like almond-shaped part of your mammalian brain, or your reptilian brain, sometimes it's called, of your limbic system. And what the amygdala does is it plays the role in how we respond to threatening situations. And so imprinted in your amygdala are all the memories of how to respond to fearful events accumulated since your childhood. So the amygdala will respond to abandonment as a threat. Anything reminiscent of a previous event, it's able to set it off, and it triggers your fight, flight, or freeze response, like preparing you for battle, preparing you to run. And so this amygdala, it's very overprotective. And when it shows up in relationships, I call it the insecurity guard. That's what I call it. And I used to tell my girlfriend, here comes your insecurity guard. And my experience with her was, here's me, here's her insecurity guard, and then there's her. And I had to make it past her insecurity guard to reach her. And vice versa, I have my insecurity guard. So the amygdala, it's where it stores all these memories, again, of how to respond to fearful situations. So when you were a child and you know, your mother left you or abandoned you, you know, you needed this adult to survive. You needed them because you could literally die without that. And your amygdala can't tell the difference between then and now. So as an adult, when you go through a breakup or, again, an expectation, something's not met, you literally respond as if you're still a child whose like very existence is threatened. And then your amygdala kicks in and it, you know, starts the whole defensive process. So that's just to give you an idea of what's going on in your brain, why it happens, like where it comes from. And yeah, you can put the slide up. So in an adult, again, I shared some of the symptoms and signs of, you know, again, now that you understand it, you know, again, wanting to please people, pushing people away, the inability to trust people, you know, not being able to develop relationships. Like, so take a look and to see if this is all you. You know, you move quickly from one relationship to another, or you sabotage relationships, or lack of emotional intimacy. And then that leads me to about abandoholism is what it's called. And so what makes someone abandoholic? So abandoholism is similar to any holism, alcoholism, you know, sexism, any of those. But instead of being addicted to a substance, you're addicted to the emotional drama of heartbreak. And I remember when my coach told me this. He said, "Mike, you addicted to drama." And I said, "I'm not addicted to drama." He goes, "Yeah, you are. You love the drama." And I couldn't see it. I was like, "No, I'm not." Now I'm realizing, oh my God, I was so addicted to the drama. You know, I had this crazy conversation that when me and my girlfriend or one of them had drama, that made the sex good. So I had this crazy thing of, let's have drama. It was like that make up the breakup thing. And so I realized that I really was addicted to drama. And so when you're a bandaholic, it causes you to pursue emotionally unavailable partners because you keep that romantic intimacy going. You can keep it going and you get them chemicals. You keep getting that high that you get from the drama. And so that's part of what it looks like, you know, to be an bandaholic. And when you've been hurt from the past, you know, and you have this fear of being connected, and you fall in love with people who are the conditions that or let me put it this way, you can't feel love and connected unless there's an insecurity involved. So you literally equate insecurity with love. So you have to feel insecure to feel like, okay, there's love present here. Because if that insecurity is not there, then you don't experience the love. So you don't even want to pursue someone unless they make you feel insecure. And then when someone comes along who doesn't make you feel insecure or give you that feeling, then you kind of like avoid that person. You're like, I don't want that person. Like, that's not going to work out for me. So you actually keep pursuing emotionally unavailable people to bring that craving out, to bring them feelings out. And one example I'm gonna give, and then if anyone wants to share about how they, now that you know what a bandaholic are, if you are, you could share that. I've had several of my lady friends, female friends. I have one friend who for 15 years, she only dated married men at all. Just every guy after one was married. And I remember saying to her, how is it you keep meeting all these single men out there? You keep managing to find a married man over and over and over again. And she's like, I don't know how that just keeps happening, but now I can see she was an abandonholic. And so since she was afraid of emotional attachment, she would only pick men who were very emotionally unavailable, because then it allowed her to not get emotionally attached. So, and one more thing I want to say about abandonment. You can, on one end of abandonment, it's the fear of being close and getting connected. But on the other end, you could have a fear of engulfment. And that shows up as if you go, oh, this person's smothering me. Oh, it's just too much. I can't deal with it. Like it's the other end of that spectrum where you like avoid them because you say it's too much. And if you're someone who have so much fear that you shut down emotionally or even sexually, that's also part of being abandoholic. And they tend to swing back and forth from each pole, from fear of engulfment to fear of abandonment. Like it'll swing. So does anyone out there want to share or see, now that you understand, anyone see that they're an abandoholic, or do you know someone that is an abandoholic? If anyone want to share anything, who sees themselves in this and they know that they're an abandoholic? Anyone?
If there's anyone that can answer yes to that question, if you'll raise your hand.
Anyone
I
who's
do see
afraid,
that-
who's so sorry to interrupt. Anyone who's so afraid of rejection that they avoid relationships altogether. If you're that's also part of abandoholism. If you're like, I don't even want to take a chance. That's this. So anyone see themselves showing up in this?
Let's we have Teresa who had her hands raised previously. We just had a bunch of hands come up. But Teresa, do you relate to his question, and do you want to respond to that?
Yes, hi, good morning. Thank you for this conversation. This is like, I'm like, this sounds just like me. But I feel like where I'm at is that I feel like I'm coming out of the abandonment issue, because I feel like the tools that I've been given, I'm still dealing with it, but it doesn't bother me to the degree that it used to be. I mean, I would get like really sad and get into bed, and just, beat myself up. And I don't feel like I want to do that anymore. There's days when I got to talk to myself. I will call somebody and talk, but this is definitely me. I mean, I can see it in so many people that I know, friends, family, that are, been dealing with that. My thing is that what I would like to know is like how to stop the pattern of it. That's what I would like to know, is like, how can I stop this pattern? Because sometimes I've been where I feel like a person smothered me, or I feel like, I'm like over, like you said, being drama, if you say it to you drama, and like, no, I'm not, and then, just, being honest with myself a lot more. I love drama, but now I'm starting to hate the drama. So it's like, I'm, coming out of that place. So thank you so much again, brother, for sharing.
All right, thank you for your share. And I will go over in a little bit of some ways to break the cycle and shift that. And one of the first things is to do the work. You gotta dig deep and go back into your childhood, into your past, and actually distinguish where it all started. You got to get to the source. That's one of the first things you do, is you just got to acknowledge it and get to the source of it.
No, excuse me. I know where it came from. It come from, parents, from because my father was always gone all the time, and my mother, she was just rough, So I know where it comes from. It's just, how not to, let it,
Okay.
run me.
Okay, we're going to get there in a few seconds. Thank you. Okay, John, anyone else? Oh,
Yeah.
I see a question from someone, Sean. Sean said, is there the opposite? I don't know what you meant opposite of what. I wasn't too sure what you meant, Sean. Go ahead, John, sorry.
No problem, not at all. Um, and I heard you asking a question you didn't know. Do you need clarity for that question before we move on?
It could be in the chat. I just see someone said, is there opposite to that, Sean Bierman? And I don't know what that is referring to. So I don't know if she's going to put it in the chat or if she wants to speak.
I don't know how to raise my hand. I'm not usually the hand raiser. Here's what I meant. I know someone, I have a client who literally keeps as many relationships around him as possible because he's so afraid of abandonment that when this one abandons him, he wants to have another one already in the cooker. Do you know what I mean? Like he's so afraid. He's just clear every single person's going to abandon him. Like he's clear this is the truth to him.
Yeah.
So he relates to every person like they're already on their way out.
That's one of the signs that everyone's going to leave me. That's one of the symptoms of abandonment.
Okay, good. I just want, like, I knew he had abandonment issues, but I wasn't clear. Like, some people go, no, he's just a hoe.
No.
I'm like, no, I don't think that's it.
Yeah. So the opposite of this would to develop a healthy attachment style, because what he has right now is an unhealthy. Remember, I don't know if you saw what I said, anxious avoidance and avoidance attachment, anxious attachment. So that's what he's experiencing. So that the healthy attachment style would be developed by doing the work and then to letting that go. And then he would not, he sounds like me. Sounds like I used to be. So I get it. So yeah, so that's what recommend he do some work in abandonment, maybe get this workbook. Because it was my.
How about I just shift him right over to you? That would make my life way easier.
Hey, I would love to work with him.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, anyone else before I move on?
Yes, we have 3 hands raised at the moment. And let's honor Shawnee. And Shawnee, would you like to speak? And then we'll come to Zakia and Fatima in that order.
I don't want to be skipping over people. I can wait until after they go. I'll hold on because what I have to share is a question for Mike that's about his experience. So Fatima and Zakia can go and I'll wait.
Thank you so much, Shawnee, for that, showing us an example of one of our core values here, and that's integrity. So my order, I'd ask Zakia and then Fatima. So Zakia, can you unmute, please?
Greetings.
Greetings.
Hold on. Actually, let me turn off. I have to stay off camera, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I raised my hand when you asked if there was anyone who's so afraid of rejection that they avoid relationships altogether.
Mm-hmm.
I think I qualify. I was married, abandoned with my children, and stayed out of relationship from. I tried to engage in relationships from 95 when I was abandoned to around the beginning of the millennium, and around 2001, I pretty much just shut down. I've not been in a relationship since 2001. Celibate, the whole thing. Last year, someone approached me, and I've been attempting to develop a relationship and having all kinds of challenges around it. So I think I qualify for that.
All right. Okay. So you're ready to give that up now?
Yeah. Not easy.
Okay.
20 years is a long time to not be in a relationship and then try and have a relationship. Yeah.
That's a while. But it's possible to transform this conversation and give it up. Anything else you want to share?
No, I just, yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into getting the workbook. I'll start there for sure.
Yeah, great. That's a great place to start. I want to say this one thing real quick because I'm going to go there shortly. There are only 2 forces in the world that exist: love and fear. And everything we do is out of the love of something or fear of something. You know, all human behavior is the desire to receive pleasure, avoid pain. Like it's it. That's like everything we do. So you can, if you really start to look, you can see how you, for example, go to work because you love the things that your job provides, the money and security. You love those things, or you go to work because you're afraid of not having these things. It's all in the context. So where I'm going with this is sometimes we allow fear to dominate us and drive our lives. Like abandonment is a fear-based anxiety. Anxiety is fear. So when you're dominated by fear, then you're going to experience these types of things. So the number one way to transform this is to go from fear-based thinking to love. That's the number one way, is once you distinguish. So I often ask myself, am I making this decision or choice from a fear-based drive or love-based? And I'm getting good at looking at it. And when I realize I'm coming from fear, I go, what would a love-based decision, or what would love look like in this case? So that's the first nugget I'll give you on how to transform it. You just gotta let go of all that fear. So I hope that gets you started and helps you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your share. Who was next, John?
Fatima.
Fatima?
Hi, yeah. So this is Fatima. Thank you so much for this conversation. I've looked at these attachment issues, and what you spoke about in terms of rejection is where I have a challenge with regards to taking things as if the rejection is me. It's not the thing. It's not, I give an example. When I was studying, I would not read responses on my papers. If they were written in red, I wouldn't read it. And so I would just take the paper, I'd do the paper, and I'd take the paper and I'd just put it aside. And so I could never really learn more because I was afraid of the rejection. And I took it as if there was a criticism of me. It wasn't a criticism of something that I could learn from. And so I've been carrying that. And so now I have so much in me to write, but I'm afraid to write. I get sick when I start to write. And it is because I'm afraid of the rejection. If I publish, if I put it out there, then I'm going to be rejected. But the rejection is not that, it just was somebody who didn't like what I wrote. It wasn't, it's more like it's me. So I'm struggling with that notion so that I can move past that block, that obstacle about rejection, and not taking it personal, but as a place to learn.
Right. That's perfect. And again, abandonment can show up in areas other than relationships. It's as I mentioned, it's any expectation not being met, and that process could go in. And as I'll just share this, I heard this recently. Someone who was a writer, as they were a songwriter, and he said that his professor told him in college, you're going to write 100 bad songs in your career. So why don't you go ahead and get them out of the way so that you could write your good songs? So I say this to say, there's a process of learning and develop whatever skill you have as a writer. So you're going to write some pieces that aren't going to be great. That's part of the process of becoming great. So it's not necessarily rejection. You can view it as just change your context. This is how I become good. I have to write my 100 bad essays first before I write, or however that works. You just change your context, and then that maybe give you some freedom around your writing, maybe. And thank you for that share, Fatima.
Thank you.
And Shawnee, I think Shawnee was next.
Yes. So thank you, brother, for being here and for sharing this important material for all of us.
You're welcome.
I'm here for my own growth and development too, every day. So I'm thankful that we can continue to do this and evolve. So before I start sharing, just being who I am for this space, I wanted to give you an opportunity to acknowledge those who might have to go to work and leave the space. So if you can just do that, and then I'm going to share or ask what my question is for you and the community. So anything you want to say to those who have to jump off, because there's some people who are 8 o'clockers.
I got it. Thank you for making me present to that. Yes, so for those of you who do need to go to your job, thank you for being here. Thank you for getting up and taking the time to be present and supporting me and supporting this community. I appreciate it, and I hope this made a difference for you. And I'm pretty sure the video will be posted in the Facebook group, so you could finish watching it there. And then my contact information, if you need me for anything, any support, my contact information is there. And other than that, thank you, and hope it made a difference, and best of luck, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you, brother. So a few things come up from me. I'll make a statement about myself, and then I'll ask you a question based on my experience with myself. And I'm curious about what you have to say. But inside of the trauma responses, because I want to make sure that we're all clear about what you taught, which is this abandonment piece and this story and the dance that we do, or patterns that we have, are connected and oftentimes to trauma oriented experiences. So, you mentioned fight, flight, or freeze. There's another one they added, which is fawn, and it's people pleasing and going along to get along for the sake of survival. And I know my top 2 trauma responses are fight or flight. And so when I think about my experience of sexual trauma as a kid, and it started when I was 3, my automatics were either fight, and then there's another dynamic that I had, and I'm so grateful I transformed it, Mike, because I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life like this. I would engage in flight, and I wasn't even conscious of it, but I know it now retrospectively because of the work. So I would be intensely sexual with someone that I would meet, and it was a form of like, okay, I have to prove my worth through that activity. And then about a year in, it was like clockwork, I would start to shut down sexually. And so they would be with this person who was so immensely engaged with them, and then they would be so happy, and then I would start to taper off and then get to a space of full blown blockage, stoppage, just shut down. And what that would create, and you talked about drama, was them thinking that I was cheating on them, and that I didn't love them anymore. But it's like, okay, I want to be with you, but I don't want to have sex with you anymore. And I wouldn't always articulate that. I would make up excuses, but it was my trauma pattern. And just very deeply saddening. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life. And about a decade plus ago, I transformed that through meditation and belly dance, like a lot of stuff that I was, doing to heal myself. But I really thought I was going to go to my grave with that dynamic in place, and very fearful about that. It's like, how do you start a relationship with someone and talk about the rest of your life, and about a year in, you're not interested in being intimate in that way with them anymore? So, this whole piece about trauma and what it does, and the delusion, the illusion, it's painful. And so, I just want to say that out loud, that there is a possibility of healing. And because I was able to find my healing formula, I was able to shift it. But, I think Laura shared, and maybe others in the space shared about, just the dynamic. And I just want to put that out there, like you taught us, that you can find a way to counter what the pattern is, even if it's old. So thank you for that. I just had to be willing to do it, and I was. The other piece I wanted to ask you, and others in the space, because it's my exploration that I had to go through, was about the dumping ground that I became, being intensely sexual, moving from relationship to relationship, what the world calls promiscuity, but I know was what happened to me caused that. Now, it wasn't who I was, is what happened to me, right? So engaging in that type of dynamic with people, and I'll say this and quiet myself, created a space where that toxic energy from other people and those toxic exchanges started to impact me, mind, body, and spirit. So the formulation of fibroids, sleep issues, just different things. And so my question to you, Mike, is what was the impact of sleeping with all those different people, because I'm an energy person and I know I took their toxicity on, because you mentioned attracting people who are abandoholics, attracting people who have the same dynamic or similar low vibration. So I know what it did to me. I'm curious about what it did to you.
Well, and thank you for your share and for the question. And what you described and how you were was very, very similar to my experience. And again, that's the disorganized attachment. When you pull them in, you push them out. Like you said, you had about a year and you would get close. And I was almost the exact same way. And that's why I had so many relationships. I too was very promiscuous. And for me, it was the same experience. I would take on the energy of anyone that I was sleeping with, and whatever way of being that they had, I would find myself over time adapting that like to myself. And I had this belief that sex was love. So I would put a lot of emphasis on sex with women and literally coerce or pressure them into having whatever the most extreme version of sex that this women was willing to do, because I had it that the more sex you have with me or the more things you do, the more you love me. And so I took that all the way, to the nth degree. I got into swinging and going to swing. So I got all into that world because I really thought this was love. And what I realized, or how it shifted for me, was after having all these sexual fantasies and all that stuff come true, I felt empty. I mean, extremely disconnected. And I remember sitting there going, man, I'm having fantasy, porno sex, and I'm still empty. And I don't feel connected to these women. I don't feel like I love them. And so I just kind of shut down. And it was, for a while, I was like, I don't even really want to have sex no more. And because I knew something was missing, but this was before I had done all this work, and I didn't know what was missing, but it made me feel lonely and disconnected and empty. And wasn't a good feeling. It wasn't a good feeling. So that was kind of my personal experience of that. And thank you for your share and your authenticity. And I acknowledge you for doing the work. And one of the things you addressed is one of the things I was going to bring up. One of the number one ways to reverse this, or not reverse it, to deal with the swirl process when you get shattered, is one of the first things she says in the book to do is she calls it getting centered. And getting centered basically means to bring yourself present, to get present in the moment, because when you're triggered, when the amygdala gets triggered, it's mostly from a response from something in the past that your current situation is similar or the same to, and you get in that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn as you add it. So it's not the threat isn't necessarily happening now, it's just a perceived threat. So she says to get present, to present yourself in that moment, and that's the way you lift out of the swirl. So when you mentioned you started doing meditation, that keeps you present, and dancing also gets you present. So you were doing some great techniques and things to counter the your abandonment issues. So thank you for that share. Anything else for you, Shawnee?
I did see
No,
a
I'm good.
hand earlier from Adam, and I'm not sure if Adam still wanted to share. I just want to acknowledge that.
Yes, I do, John Carl. Thanks for having this discussion, Mike. The one question that I want to have with you is, how much do you think that the media and the music and the movies played in part in why we have these abandonment-holic issues? Like, for example, somebody could watch a show like Love and Hip Hop, and after that show ends or whatever, that person can go on a media outlet, and then that media outlet can talk about the drama that's happened behind these broken marriages or relationships, and they'll just keep on entertaining it and having a field day. So I just want to know, how much influence do you think that the media has on our abandonholism?
So I'll say this, that's not an area I have specifically done, research in, but what I will say is this, for the most part, almost everyone suffers from some versions of abandonment. Like not everyone, but the majority of us have some versions or some degree of this. So I would say that I would assume it plays out in the media because people are creating these media, views or themes that are created, and so they're probably depicted upon real life situations. So I would say it definitely has an influence, and I can see I was influenced by the media of how I was supposed to interact with women and how I was to be with women, because I see some of these abandonment issues play out in movies. As you said, you see them and you watch them and you go, oh, well, that's how I kind of idolize this entertainer and they're doing that. So I can't give an exact number or say exactly, but I would say it definitely does. We are influenced by it. And if you look at, say, hip hop music, I mean, I call a lot of rap music, I call it anti-relationship music, because you don't get a lot of songs that actually promote love and connectedness, and it's just a lot of the stuff we listen to is not, it's not good. And so I would say you're right to have observed that, and I maybe I want to take a look at that myself to really get a better understanding of the connection. But I would say yes, that it does influence us. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In the interest of time, John, you can put the slide up. I'm gonna move through the remainder of this a little bit expeditiously, so I could kind of get to give people some ways of approaching or dealing with this. So you can put the slide back up real quick. Yeah. So again, and thank everyone for the shares. I love it, and I want you all to know that I'm getting something from your shares as well. So the ways that she talks about in healing in the book about how you heal your wounds is, one, possibly seek therapy if there's something you need support with. Find, a trained therapist who works with abandonment issues and have them support you. And then centering, which we spoke about, and Shawnee mentioned meditation. Any way to get present. She says one of the simplest ways you can be present is when you feel the swirl process begin, take a step back, breathe, do some breathing, and take a walk. And when you go take a walk, just get present. Notice the bees, the birds, the trees, the wind, just present yourself. And then I kind of let it go. And then she talks about self-love, developing love for yourself, do some self-love work. And you can't change the unchangeable. What she says is, accept, that's like the serenity prayer in a sense, accept the things that you can't change, because an abandonholic would be someone who would, as I mentioned, like being with a married man and trying to get this married man to leave his wife, or being with someone who is emotionally unavailable, but then you try to make that person emote these emotions for you. So another characteristics of someone who is an abandonholic is they try to change the unchangeable, and that gives them that rush to hide the drama, So notice when you're trying to change the unchangeable, and don't do that. And then increase your capacity for love. Something that I recently discovered that I want to share that was mind-blowing for me. I read another book called The Untethered Soul, which I highly recommend if you have not read it. But in this book, he gives this analogy that when you go to the gym, for example, or you work out, your muscles, the way that you stretch a system is by stressing the system. You have to stress it to stretch it, to make it grow. So the way that you develop muscles is, if I want to get my muscles big, I have to stress them out, right? And literally tear the muscle, has to break, and then protein, amino acids, and those things come, and it builds my muscle up. That's how you develop stronger muscles. Well, the heart is a muscle, okay? So he proposes this theory that the way that you develop your heart to be stronger is you have to break it. You get your heart broken, and instead of recessing and going and hiding in a cave and, oh, I'm never going to do that again. That's the process of developing your capacity for love. You get your heart broken and that muscle gets stronger, and then you go back out and you love again, and then your heart gets broken and it gets stronger. Every time you do this, you increase your capacity for love because your heart, the muscle that it is, gets stronger. So ever since I read that, I now take on that heartbreak is part of the process of developing a strong capacity for love. So don't run from a possible heartbreak. Just see it. Hey, my heart just got stronger. Thank you for making my heart stronger so that I could have a bigger heart and more capacity for love. So take that on. And then she talks about letting go. And we all know letting go. I always think of the movie Frozen, let it go, let it go. And some say it's easier said than done, but you just got to let it go. You just have to make a choice to let go of the hurt and the pain and the fear and just say, I choose something else. Let it go. And then she talks about forgiveness. I've been doing a lot of work and reading some books on how to forgive people. Another thing that I recently discovered I want to share, the two biggest things that prevent people from receiving enlightenment and in full connection with the eternal or the infinite, whatever you describe it, is their inability to forgive and self-righteousness. So if you are unable to forgive people, you won't be able to have that full connection with the infinite because you're holding on to all these negative emotions, okay? And the way that shows up as self-righteousness is I hear people say, I have a right to be angry. I have a right to be mad. Like that's self-righteousness. That victimhood is a form of self-righteousness because you're saying this person hurt me, so I have a right to be hurt. I have a right to be angry. I have a right not to forgive this person. Like it's all kind of connected. So again, self-righteousness and inability to forgive is what's stopping you from having that deeper connection with the infinite and reaching enlightenment. And I want to give a few definitions of love because here's my simple philosophy that I want to share. Again, as I said, another book that I recommend is called A Course in Miracles, where I got that brilliant thank you for about what is love. So love, and the two definitions that I love to refer to is one, M. Scott Peck, and I got this from a book he wrote called The Road Less Traveled, and I read this in my 20s. But love is the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Okay, that's his definition. And then another book that I also recommend, Eric Fromm, The Art of Loving, and he says love means to commit oneself without guarantee, to give oneself completely in the hope that our love will produce love in the loved person. Love is an act of faith, and whoever is of little faith is also of little love. And now, here's a big thing to get. Notice when he says to commit oneself without guarantee. Looking for a guarantee is an expectation. The shattering process begins when an expectation isn't met. So if you could have the courage to love without looking for an expectation, you won't get shattered. We never get upset at the love we give. We get upset at the love we don't receive in return. It's not giving the love that bothers us. It's not getting it back. So love is the number one thing you can do to overcome your abandonment issues. And love, as he says, commit to giving your love without a guarantee. When you can do that, you will set yourself free. And then one more thing I want to give about the 3 levels of love, or the 3 levels of a relationship. Level 1, the lowest level, is when you're in a relationship, any relationship with your children, your siblings, any type of relationship you're in. The lowest level is when you're in the relationship to get something for yourself. I'm in it to get what I want out of it. Like you're not concerned with the other person. You're trying to get mine. Level 2 is when you're kind of trading. Hey, I'll give you this for that. If you do this for me, I'll do that for you. Most of my relationships, I was level 2. I was always trading with my partner, and mostly trading things in exchange for sex. That was me. And then level 3, the highest level, is to put your partner's needs first, as he said, to commit to giving to the other person, putting the other one's spiritual development first. That's level 3. So I personally have never been in a level 3 relationship. In most of mine, it was level 2 and level 1, or like sometimes I was level 1 just trying to get what I wanted, or I was level 2 and the girl was level 2. So my next relationship, I'm committed to being level 3. Like I want to put her first and have her put me first. So the way that looks for me is I don't want to say competition, but I want a relationship where the challenge is me and my partner are out to see who could serve the other one the most. Who could, like I bet I can treat you better than you treat. I bet I can love you better than you love me. Like I want it almost to be a competition for who could love freely the most. Like that's what I want to create. I want that level 3 relationship. So I hated to have to rush through that in the interest of time. But again, just to recap, the stuff to do to deal with it is again, seek therapy if you can, work with somebody, do research on how to develop self-love. And one other thing that she says in there about how to increase your capacity for love is take on something bigger than yourself. Like commit yourself to taking on something that's bigger than you. You want to eradicate homelessness or end suffering or work with foster kids. Like get out of your head and get out there in the world and give your love to someone else. Again, as the definition, commit yourself to the development of someone else's spiritual growth. If you're doing that, you're not in your head and all in your world like, oh, woe is me and it's happened to me. So the biggest thing I want to really get you to take a walk away with is love is the answer. That's it. You got to love yourself. You have to love everyone and tell the truth. You got to tell the truth. That's number 1. Tell the truth. Just be honest with yourself. Be honest with everybody. Tell the truth. Forgive everybody, including yourself. And then love. Forgive. Just create that process. Tell the truth. Forgive. Love unconditionally. Tell the truth. Forgive. Love unconditionally. And just keep doing that over and over again. Just write that down. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to forgive everybody. And then I'm going to love unconditionally. If you practice that, you will heal these abandonment issues. And then you will start to experience life in a whole new way, whole new connections. And your energy will shift. And when your energy shifts, what you attract will be different. You will no longer attract these individuals who are hurt and wounded because your being is more powerful than your doing. Your being. So I like to say, do less, be more. Do less, be more. Okay. So that's what I want to leave you with. And I hope this made a difference. And I really, really, really appreciate this community allowing me to speak and present and share this with you. And I appreciate Shawnee for inviting me. And I hope it made a difference. And my contact information is there. And that's it. And we have a few more minutes left. And John, you can take it from here and handle all the
Awesome.
maladies.
Thank you so
very
much, Michael. This resonates so deeply with me, and I'm sure it does with so many members in our community. And we can move on to your special offer. But before we do that, I wanted to ask my admin, Charmaine. We haven't heard too much from Charmaine in Facebook, but if there was anything there that you would still like to bring in, Charmaine, before we move forward to the special offer.
We're kind of complete. Mike has, closed this out so beautifully. And so there are some questions there that, after you can go back up and just answer, but we're complete. He's closed this out.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for the great comments in the chat. Yes, so if that's it, we can go ahead and put the offer up. John, sir. There you go. So I'll read it real quick. So basically my offering is for the first 3 people to contact me, oh no, I'm sorry, John. We're going to do the number system. I apologize.
Yes, we have the numbers.
We have the
Just
numbers.
tell us about the
Yes.
special offer. I already have your the names attached to your numbers that you chose.
Okay.
Just tell us about the offer.
So I randomly picked 3 numbers, and he's going to match. So for these 3 people, I am offering a complimentary discovery call coaching session with me, and just to support you and see what we can discover that might make a difference for you, and possibly working together and creating a life you love. My specialty in coaching is your best life coach, and I support people in having their best life now, like in the moment, not like I'll have my best life when this happens, but how do you create your best life now? And then I also specialize in relationships. So I'm offering 3 people a complimentary discovery call. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Your numbers were 9, 5, and 7. And your first number 9, that's Deborah Hannah Young. Deborah, are you here? And would you like to come off mute and let us know you accept the offer?
Yes, I'm here. I am here and I do accept.
Okay.
Awesome. We will share Michael's contact next. And matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and share that now. Michael will talk about his contact, but before we do that, you can snapshot. Let's bring up all the winners. So 5 is Mama Amal is number 5.
Okay.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I do accept. Wow. I said I'll never get it. Oh, that's thank you.
I'm excited for you, Mama Amal. Number 7 is Carmen. Carmen, could you come off mute and accept, please?
I accept. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Yes, I need that.
Awesome. Here's Michael's contact. Michael, can you walk us through your contact? And
yeah,
we ask that.
So
those who, one
go ahead,
second.
John. I'm sorry.
We ask that those who win copy this information and contact Michael to redeem your gifts. Go ahead, Michael.
And so the simplest, most direct way is obviously my cell phone. I keep this very close to me at all times. So you can call me or send me a text. And as you see there, my Facebook, I actually have multiple Facebook pages, and I just put my, that's actually my personal one, but I do have a Chrysalis Coaching Facebook page, but a lot of that is newly created. Heads up, I just created my website. It's under construction. So if you go by it, I'm working on that, but it's up now. And my Instagram, all of my coaching stuff is relatively either new or I'm redoing it. But that's all my contact information. And regarding to Deborah, Carmen, and what was it, Mama? I'm sorry.
Amal.
Mamal.
Hey.
Yes, just send me a text or give me a call, and I'll send you a link to book yourself. Let's book some time so that we can have that discovery call. That's it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, family, we are at the love offering and donation time. And you know how to reach us. If you're new to the community, you can do so at Zelle and QuickPay, Soul Leadership Development at gmail.com. You can do so at Cash App, Spirit, $ Spirit of a Woman. And I've posted the link in the chat, this hyperlink. You click that link and it'll take you straight to the page, and you don't have to put the name in and such. Add the code though. Today's code, today is day number 308, and we're here with Michael, and I don't even have your last name in front of me. But
Blocker.
Michael, oops, let's go back to that. Sorry. I'm clicking around trying to find a name, and I switched the page. But
Michael
here we
Blocker.
And I'm sorry, Michael?
Michael Blocker is my last name.
Michael Blocker. Michael Blocker. How can I forget such a significant name? But yes, Michael shared with us today, and he shared from his experience, his personal experience, which gave us so much wisdom, which was filled with so much wisdom and guidance. I'm happy he's here to share with us. And at this time, we're asking for you, family, Wu family, to share back with Michael. You can do that in the form of money. And remember, money is my own natural energy yields. When you give, it comes right back to you. We are energetic beings, and everything around us is energy. And the more energy you give, the more energy come back, more abundance come back to you. So we ask that you give to Michael, and whether it's a lot or little, if you consider, oh, this is too little, don't even worry about that, because it will grow as you give. When you give a little, more will come back, and it will keep coming. So we ask that you give. And again, Zelle, Quick Pay, Soul Leadership Development at gmail.com, and Cash App, Spirit of a Woman, and code 308MB. Thank you so much, family. And coming up next, tomorrow, Wednesday, April 21st, we have Owen Headley, and his topic is Let's Keep It Real. Men can feel. And I love that. Yes, men can feel. And I love this schedule, this lineup of men that we've had so far joining the community. And Michael, I know you are new. We welcome you here, and we look forward to welcoming Owen also. And then on Thursday, we have our beloved, the one and only Kenya Fu, who will be speaking on Be Earth Day. And I wonder if that's her birthday. I'm not even sure, but we look forward to see what Kenya Fu have in store for us after we hear from Owen. And if you're new to the community, we welcome all members. I think I've seen some new faces and new names in the community today. We ask that you share in the chat if you are new. Let us know that you're here. We want to let you know that we feel and embrace your presence. And if you are on Facebook and you're new there, please share in the chat there also. And feel free to announce and welcome yourself. Let us know who you are and where you are, and what you hope to get from here. We ask that you expand today's topic and today's subject, and what resonated with you, what came up for you in today's session. You can share that also in our Facebook community. And you can always come back and watch the replays there also. So we welcome you. Please share in the chat. Let us all embrace you. Our schedule. We're here Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. That's our 90-minute session from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. And on Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 to 7:30. And we're always streaming live on Facebook. Woo community, we welcome you, and we want you to show your love for this community by wearing your colors. Show your love. You have your option of t-shirts, mugs, masks, and I want to share an example. Yesterday, I was standing on my block coming back from the store, and as I'm walking my block, I see in the distance, I see these colors that look familiar to me, and they're about half a block away. And I'm like, let me wait here and see who this is. So I'm standing and I was like, hello, good morning. Can I have a word with you? And she said no, she was in a hurry, she was moving forward. And then she got a few steps forward. I said, I designed the shirt you're wearing. And she stopped and was like, what, Giancarlo? Giancarlo? Yes, it's me. And this was Cassie from our community, and she came back, and we shared some conversation and embrace, and I was like, wow, this is beautiful, being able to identify family by just seeing the colors. So I look forward to purchasing more stuff myself, and I look forward to seeing the community out there in the streets, as I like to say. Woo in the streets. Woo swag. bit.ly forward slag forward bit.ly/woo swag. You can find the swag there. Thank you so much, Facebook community. Again, how you can find us. bit.ly, you can register, bit.ly/wake up movement. On Facebook, we talk about the community there, and you can find and register there by going to bit.ly/woo community. On Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual, and on YouTube, bit.ly/woo on YouTube. And family, we invite you to just get all the juiciness we have to offer here. Email us if you like, if you have questions or comments to share, info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. And This is so fulfilling this morning, Michael. We thank you with all our hearts. And here we'd like to give the entire community a chance to bless you with love and thank you for this session. Wonderful session this morning. Community love shower.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Michael. Welcome to the
This was
community.
just
This was an
wonderful.
amazing
Thank you.
Job,
Thank you,
Michael.
Brother Michael. Thank
Your
you.
You and
energy.
the mother
Thank you,
of
thank you,
you
thank you for this
Good work,
juicy
everybody.
peace, love, and
movement,
Thanks,
always,
everybody.
manifestation.
Support,
relationship.
everybody.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
love
much.
y'all.
Yes,
Awesome
yes.
session.
God bless God, bless God.
Love everybody
You
too.
text me because I already text you.
Welcome to
Love
love
you.
you.
Thank you.
See you
Let's
tomorrow.
move forward, everybody.
New you. Come back. Welcome everyone. Thank you everyone who
Yeah.
Michael, come on
Thank
back.
you.
voice.
Definitely come
Hey,
on back.
Bonnie, thank you
Come on back.
Thank
It
so,
could
so
be a
much.
definite
Thank y'all.
second
Thank you,
session.
brother.
You all
Thank
so much.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I will be back. And thank
on
you
point
for
and on time.
thank you for allowing me to be a member of this community and to be a contribution. And I will be back and do another.
Welcome. Thank you.
Awesome,
Please come
awesome.
back.
Have a great day today.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Blessings. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Bless they all.